And really, it can't really be that festive. We're not wearing our Shabbat clothes. And we are not really in a great, joyous state. And so some people say it's best to eat something, break your fast, and only then say Kiddush Levana, when you've had the chance to refresh yourself a little bit, because we want to give this bracha the full attention and reverence and joy that it requires. The problem is, if everybody goes home and eats something, then they're not going to come back again. And so the best solution is, this demands a little bit of investment on a communal scale. The best is if they have somebody in shul right after Arvit make the Havdalah on behalf of everybody. As we said yesterday, this year we have to make the Havdalah. On a regular year, you don't have to make Havdalah, but you do have some food. You have a little snack, some cake, some refreshments, and then that just takes 5 minutes. And then everybody's still there, and then you say the Kiddush Levana together with a minyan, as with its part of the consolation after the mourning period is over. So this is the ideal custom. This year is a little more complicated because you have to have Havdalah as well. And but it's not that hard to have a cup of wine or beer, whichever it is. There's some customs which say you should refrain from having wine even the night after Tisha B'Av, the beginning of the 10th. We briefly touched upon this, that in our history, the truth is, the historians tell us that based on the psukim that we have, the 9th of Av was when the temple was lit on fire to be destroyed, but it didn't burn up in 1 second. It actually continued to burn all the way through the 10th, into the 10th of Av. So really, you should fast for 2 days. But we can't. We can't. It's beyond us. And so the sages said, you only fast 1 day, the 9th of the 9th, that's the beginning of the destruction. It's the more powerful moment. But some measure of customs of mourning remain. So in a regular year, for example, most communities say the night of the 10th, after the night's over, you're still not allowed to do laundry. You're still not allowed to, some people say even to bathe for pleasure. You're not allowed to have meat and wine. This year is a little bit different because it's not going to be the eve of the 10th of Av, it's going to be the eve of the 11th of Av. Because we're actually fasting on the 10th. And so everything is pushed off. So do we still have to be machmir? Do we have to be so stringent? After Tisha B'Av is over, after the fast is over, it's already the 11th. Some poskim say, no, this year you can have wine for Havdalah, you can have meat, you can bathe immediately, you can do your laundry immediately once the fast is over. Other poskim say no, they maybe make a separation. Laundry, yes, and bathing, yes, but the meat and the wine in particular, they should follow the pattern of the Beit HaMikdash. In the Beit HaMikdash, the meat and that we don't eat because we don't have the korbanot, and the wine we don't drink because the wine of the libations on the altar. In the Beit HaMikdash, all the rules follow a different schedule. They have the day before the night. We all know the sacrifices were brought during the day on the altar, but then at night the bones remained to burn in the evening. And so also there's korbanot which were brought during the day and they were eaten all night during the nighttime. Famously, we know about Korban Pesach, right? We sacrifice it in the afternoon and we eat it in the evening. So the evening follows the day. So it could be regarding the meat and the wine remembrances, these practices of mourning, even though we're on the 10th and the eve of the 11th already, which is, well extended, the fact that we are commemorating we're not having meat and wine in the daytime means that it should continue into the night. So you'll find some people that want to make Havdalah Sunday night also. not on wine or grape juice, but on some other beverage, which is appropriate, beer or even non-alcoholic beverages is permitted if you don't have anything better. Coffee, tea, Coke, and juice, fruit juice, and so forth. But so this year, you'll have some people machmir and some people not machmir because it's really the eve of the 11th already. So regarding wine, so anyways, in shul, what they should be doing is having a cup of grape juice, let's say, or beer, and making havdalah for the entire community, having a piece of cake for everybody, and then making the kiddush levana after Tisha B'Av is over. It's the beginning of the renewal, perhaps a mark of the consolation that we're getting into. As we said, each of the next 7 weeks we're going to have haftarot of nechama. This is the period of consolation, which takes us all the way into the period of the high holidays, 7 weeks. We're already, the next special haftarah after the 7 weeks of consolation are going to be, it's going to be Shabbat Teshuvah, the special haftarah about Teshuvah between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Till then we have 7 weeks of consolation.
Sephardi, they start after Tisha B'Av with Sukkot praying in the morning.
3 weeks later. Rosh Chodesh Elul.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Rosh Chodesh Elul, 3 weeks later.
I have another question about talking about joy. We talk about the clothes we need to change after Shabbat. I was thinking, when I look to myself, I always wear the same clothes.
Okay.
With one
it's your choice. Yeah.
With one exception, on Shabbat I have a tie.
Okay. Everybody.
So, do I need to change my clothes also after Shabbat? Because I have always the same clothes.
Wow. I guess you would take off your tie.
That's all?
That's all. That's your weekday clothes. The truth is, clothing is very interesting. There's a lot that has to do with community and social context in terms of clothing, but also it's personal preference and of course the Jewish clothing of the tzitzit and the kippah we talked about the other day. But there is also halachic ramifications regarding clothing, because one of the ways in which we show honor to the Shabbat is that we wear different clothes for the Shabbat. Talmudic times they were so poor in general, the material goods were much more scarce. And people didn't have 10 shirts and 10 changes of clothing. They had one robe. That was their clothing. And if they didn't have one to switch into, they didn't have a special robe for Shabbat. You know what they would do to mark the Shabbat? Turn it inside out. And that, the other side was less used, was less dirty, less soiled, and that was the way they could honor the Shabbat. But you have to do something. So Baruch Hashem, we live in a very rich era where we have many changes of clothing, and some people have more fancy clothes for the Shabbat, which is part of the mitzvah of kavod Shabbat. Showing the respect for Shabbat is that we have a higher level of finery, of clothes. And the truth is, I heard once a shir from Rav Hershel Schachter of the Rosh Kol of YU, and he says that Jews should have 5 levels of clothing, if possible. Regular weekday clothes, and then you have Shabbat clothes, and then you have Yom Tov is supposed to be 1 notch above Shabbat. So then you have what's even fancier than Yom Tov, maybe Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the first day of the year. It's the day we coronate Hashem. We're supposed to eat and drink and be joyous. So that's like a special, even 1 level above the 3. If I remember correctly, this was 30 years ago. and the 5th level.
Hanukkah.
No, that's a rabbinic holiday. How could that be higher than the Shabbat and the Yom Tov? But what's the 5th highest level?
We have this every day,
No.
every week, year.
Not necessarily.
Morning, is it morning?
Why would you? You don't wear happy clothes. You don't wear joyous clothes when you sit Shiva. That doesn't make any sense.
Pesach.
That's one of the holidays we said.
Right. I just
thinking. Yeah, you're trying. He said it's the clothes you wear to a wedding, a wedding feast. You're supposed to be dressed in your, maybe not every year, right. Well, you can go to a friend's wedding and you should be wearing your finest. Not only the chatan and the kala.
right.
When you go, you're trying to bring joy, and so the finery that you wear is...
But even then, when you celebrate your first, your second, your third day, you have been married, it's a special day, you do something nice.
That's nice. That's an anniversary. I don't think there's any halachic significance to the anniversary or practices or so forth. But going to attend a wedding, you're supposed to increase the joy of the chatan and the kala, and everybody dresses up, and that really makes it a bigger event, and it increases.
And then I don't understand. Sometimes when I'm going to a wedding, I see some men, they wear short trousers.
Wow.
They are going to the beach.
They didn't hear my shir.
I think so.
They must not have heard of this idea. That's it. Well, I'll tell you, there are different standards in different communities we spoke about.
Ambassadors.
Well, yes, but you have to remember what I said about the sensitivity when you telling others what to do.
Right. I have another question.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about the following. I'm talking about now the time of Pesach. We put all away the chametz and to have a good home. So when I think about this issue, about the chametz, and now we are talking about Tisha B'Av, joy and these things. When we have Shabbat, we supposed to give flowers to our wife. So when Tisha B'Av will be on a Saturday, do we have to buy? We don't need to, but it's a beautiful custom to do this. Also this year, because the flowers will be also the next day. So it's to look to the flowers. It gives you joy. So what's about that?
Good question. It's a lovely custom, which is quite common in Israel, but like you said, it's not an obligation, is to buy flowers for Shabbat. It gives a good feeling to your wife and in the home. And in general, as we learned, that the Shabbat Chazon, even when it comes out on Tisha B'Av itself, essentially the joy overrides the mourning aspects. We do not mourn in public. Even though it's the 9th of Av, we do not mourn any outward signs of mourning. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're going to sing, and we're going to eat meat and drink wine, even on the third meal when we're just about to start the fast. We are allowed to eat, and we try not to take away anything from the Shabbat, at least publicly. So not buying flowers for Shabbat would be a violation of that principle. If you usually do, then you should do so for Shabbat this week as well. And
you don't need to hide the flowers.
No, I would say even the opposite. I would say that, like you mentioned, it's a gesture of showing closeness to your wife. And why was the temple destroyed? Because of the disunity in the Jewish people. Mm-hmm. So one way that we have to work to fix our society is by even increasing the love. So it's even the best expression you can do to prepare for Tisha B'Av is to even be more sensitive to your wife and increase the love. So the fact that it'll remain on Sunday, you don't have to, erase all signs of joy and comfort in the house. Of course, we take off our festive clothes and we do sit on the floor, and we do have the custom, we say in shul, that we take off the parochet from the Aron Kodesh We don't, because it's so beautiful. We sort of, it's based on the pasuk we said yesterday, Bitza Imrato, that God sort of soiled or took off his clothing, his royal garb. So that by metaphor we use that, and we sort of take off the parochet, what's that called? The parochet, the curtain from the Aron Kodesh. But and I think we saw that some people even do that at home, but most people don't have a parochet at home. And I don't think you have to hide the flowers. Let them remain there from Shabbat. I don't think most people, have any signs of mourning in the house. Maybe some people light a candle when you're mourning, so you could light a candle. The question is, it's a good question actually, for usually, the halacha says that on Motzei Shabbat you're supposed to have a meal. We all know that there's 3 meals on Shabbat, 3 meals which are obligatory, based on the pasuk about the man that says the 3 times the word hayom, 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 today, that we learn out from there. You should have 3 meals. The standard was, thank you, the standard was in the ancient world that people would eat 2 meals a day during the weekdays. What's it like in Holland? I don't know. But where I grew up, 3 meals a day was the standard. But in the olden times, and I think in some places in the East maybe, it's still a standard. You only have 2 meals a day. I don't know if you've come across that. But, and then Shabbat, you're supposed to have extra. So you have the 3rd meal. The 3rd meal is there, not for the sake of filling your bellies or because you're hungry. Usually, in the summertime you could get hungry, it's a long day, but if you, in the wintertime, it's quite a feat to try to force yourself to have a 3rd meal, because you're not hungry yet. It's such a short day, right? The Shabbat ends at 4:30, whatever, so you're having your 3rd meal. So we have the meal because that shows an extra sign of respect to Shabbat. We don't have 2 meals, we have 3 meals. So ideally you should be having bread for 3 meals a day. People don't realize that the halakha says very clearly, Shabbat is over, make Havdalah, you should set the table again. It's called, anybody know what's that 4th meal called? On Saturday night. It'll come to you. You've heard it before.
Of course, my wife, she's talking about this.
Oh, very good. She has the 4th meal. It's very good practice. Not everybody does it. That's why people that do, they Yes, you should have a proper meals. You should have something at least. Again, this is not an absolute obligation like the 3 meals of Shabbat, where you should try to wash. But some people, they try. They try also on the 4th meal to make it as lavish as possible or as significant. It's called to escort the queen. The Shabbat queen was in our houses, and when she leaves, you don't just sit on the couch and say bye. Take her to the door. You escort her out. The way we escort her out, the way you escort anybody is by having a meal before they leave. You shouldn't have,
because it's close to Shishi evening when we sing the Lecha Lodi.
About the bride coming in, right? So the queen, definitely the Shabbat, and now she's leaving, exactly. So we escort her out with a meal, and so the Shulchan Aruch says you should set your table with a tablecloth in honor of the Milave Malka. That's the word.
Yes.
Yeah, that's to escort the queen.
You see, after the 3rd meal, you need to change the tablecloth again.
Well, if it got soiled, if it got dirty, yeah. But some people, if it's not dirty, you could leave the Shabbat tablecloth also on Saturday night. Some people light a candle in honor of the Milave Malka, escorting the queen, the 4th meal, yeah.
But if you, the Surah you see, if you, het is on het sunset, you can't eat the Surah no?
So, good morning, almost good morning. So it's very interesting. If you're in Shabbat and you're enjoying your 3rd meal, you can continue the meal, even though the sun sets, even though it gets dark. I have a son who loves the Shabbat so much. He extends his Shabbat sometimes till 3 in the morning. He doesn't take out Shabbat when the stars come out. He says, "No, maybe there's more stars. I can't see all the stars." He keeps it going. And if you start your Seudah Shlishit before sunset, you can keep going. You can keep going. It's a problem where you're going to find a minyan for Arvit so late, but he has his own calculations. And if you're a group of 10, why not? You can keep going. Sometimes in yeshiva here, they don't finish right on the first moment that Shabbat is out. They keep singing. They're in the experience. Even when it gets dark and Shabbat's out 10, 20 minutes, half an hour already Shabbat is out. No, we want to keep eating. We want to keep enjoying the spirit of Shabbat. That's fine. That's extending Seudah Shlishit is fine. The rule that you're mentioning, I think, is Eitan, is that when you haven't started yet the third meal, then you're in trouble. You have to be starting by the sunset. After the sun is set, there are options. If you're just a few minutes late, there's people that allow you to. Moshe Feinstein is a famous tshuva. 13 minutes after the sunset, it's still you're allowed to wash and start your meal. And once you start your meal, then you can continue as long as you want. But if you didn't start yet, if you didn't even start with specifically with bread, if you just had a cracker or a cake, then you have to stop when sunset comes, because you're not in the middle of a meal. And essentially, the problem with eating at that time is you're not allowed to eat before Havdalah. You have a mitzvah coming up, and before we do every mitzvah, you're not allowed to eat. Maybe you'll forget. If you eat, you drink, you'll forget about the mitzvah. And so before every mitzvah, you're not allowed to eat and drink. So also before Havdalah. If we started the meal before the mitzvah of Havdalah becomes relevant, it doesn't become relevant before the sun sets, before Shabbat is out. So you have to start your meal before sunset, and then you can continue as long as you want, because you're fulfilling the previous mitzvah. And so, the Havdalah is not going to make you stop your meal. But if you didn't properly start your meal before, that's why everybody has to be careful. In most weeks, especially in the winter, it's more of a problem because there's short days, that your third meal should be started with bread and washing in hamotzi before sunset. And if you didn't make it, then you're not allowed to eat. Sometimes you sit around and you say, I can't have more bread. That bread could be hard for your stomach to digest when you get to my age, And so actually many people, they say, there is room for this. In halacha, the third meal is not as significant as the first two meals. The first two meals, you must have bread, unless you have a celiac disease or something like that. But you must have bread to make it a proper, significant mitzvah meal. The third meal, there's room to be lenient. If you can't have bread, I'm so full. I just finished lunch half an hour ago. So you can fulfill the mitzvah with only mizonot, with only some crackers or cake. What if I can't have any more carbs? No more carbohydrates. I can't. So you can fulfill the third meal with fruit, with vegetables, something lighter. In some communities, they're so used to that they don't wash for the third meal at all. They just always have a cup of coffee in the afternoon, and that's the third meal. Maybe they'll sing some songs if we're lucky. But if you do any of those options, you have to make sure that you stop your coffee and any drinking and the eating and your fruit by sunset.
Sometimes we make tuna salad.
Tuna salad sounds delicious, and that's fine.
Yes.
But if you don't have it with bread, you have to finish before sunset.
Right.
This year, this Shabbat, in particular, everything's changed. This Shabbat, I don't care whether you're having bread or crackers or fruit. You have to finish the meal by sunset. Because by sunset, we're already worrying about the beginning of the fast. You're not allowed to eat and drink anymore. So you have to finish by sunset only this week. Only this week. And so start your Suda Shlishit earlier so that you can finish by sunset. And we described yesterday, what happens at sunset? What do? You stop eating. And then, what else? Is there anything else that you can do? You don't really prepare for Tisha B'Av anymore because the stars have not come out. Shabbat is not absolutely over. We have this twilight time in between sunset and when the stars come out. Usually we assume the stars come out about 35 minutes after the sunset. So if sunset's around 7:30, 7:33. So you have to stop eating by 7:30. And then you don't do anything else for Tisha B'Av. You can sit around, sing songs. You can prepare for Eicha. You don't do anything until 8:10 or 8:13. It depends what, I think here on the board, what does it say, 8:11, whatever it is. Till 10 after 8. Then, what do? You say, Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. We covered this yesterday. We don't have a proper Havdalah. We say, Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. We change into our weekday clothing.
It's still written on the Luach.
It's still there. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Over here, yeah, Alvit. Is not, this is a regular week is Alvit. This year, this Shabbat, Alvit gets pushed off till 8:30 so that you can say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol and change your clothing, take off your shoes, your leather shoes, and then you go to the Alvit, and at 8:30 at Alvit you have lighting the fire, the bracha on the fire. You say Alvit with the special additions. If you're Sephardi, you add a Neinu and Menachem. And then we read the Eicha, with or without a bracha. And then we say 5 kinot. And then we go home, usually. And Tisha B'Av is in full swing. So this is a special combination. Okay? So far so good? Amazing. Let's take a look at the keynote. I see you brought your own, that's great. And I have one here, and one here. We'll pass this down to Ravid.
Sorry?
And again, I can't teach you all 45 of the keynote. But perhaps the most famous one was the one that comes with a tune. And it's usually the last one recited. It's on page, if you have you have the same as I do here, the same one, keynote, the art scroll. I don't know if you have the same pages.
Scrolls, yeah.
So there, it's going to be
Will be after Mari.
No, it'll be in the daytime, the keynote. The very end of the daytime keynote. It's keynote number 45 in my book, which is called Eli Tzion. Number 45, Eli Tzion. I'll come around to help you find it. Ravid and Stephen.
45 or 44?
45. You have that on page 176. 176. Ready? Page 176, please. Let me see if you...
Keynote 44. That's the last one.
The last one is 44? Oh, after here, there's another one.
Oh, yeah, it's 45. 176?
Yeah, 176, yeah. Yeah. Eli, we all know that the word El means God, or strength, in the Bible. What a lot of people don't know is that Eli has another meaning to the word, and it means, as you can see in the translation here, to wail or to cry out, is in sort of a sad crying. Sometimes we say oi. Now the form of that is alelai li, alelai, ay la 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 la, oi oi oi, oi oi oi. So alelai. So Eli is like that. It's a wail. It's a cry. So that's what it means here. Eli Tion ve'areat. Zion and her cities, right? Ir arim areha. The cities, her cities. Zion and her cities. Zion many times refers to the Beit HaMikdash, many times to Jerusalem, and many times to, what do we say? Are you a Zionist? That means that you believe in the state of Israel, the entire Israel, right? So Zion can be very specific or a more general term for Israel. So Eli Tzion ve'area, Zion and her cities should wail, kemo isha betzireha, like a woman who is suffering from birth pangs. Tzir, tzirim, in modern Hebrew. A woman has contractions. Contractions that are called tzirim. V'chi b'tula chagurat sak al bal neorea, like a maiden who was mourning by wearing sackcloth, as the customs of mourners are. What is she mourning for? The husband of her youth. Wow, can you imagine a young bride having her husband taken away from her, or tragically killed, or murdered, even worse. So Zion should cry for, Zion and her cities should cry like this woman. They say there's nothing more painful in the world than childbirth. I wouldn't know, but childbirth, the pain of giving birth, it's very difficult. The body changes and the bones move, and it's very, very, extremely painful.
How we know that?
Ask your wife.
Yes.
Exactly. We don't know. But it's hard to measure pain also. But
sometimes it's so terrible when you see your wife is getting birth to a child. You see her when she has the pain, and you're standing there. You cannot do anything. It gives you also so much.
that's right. Yeah, it's sympathetic pain for sure. Yeah, it's very difficult to stand by and see someone you love that's in such pain.
Yes.
So this is a beautiful poem. I'll go on. Ale Armon Asher Nutash. What are you crying about? What is Zion and her cities crying about? For the palace that is abandoned. Ashmat tzon ve'adarea, because of the sin of the sheep of our flocks. We're very careful throughout the kinot to accept responsibility, to say many times that our destructions came because of our sins. Ve'al biyat mecharfeel betoch mikdash chadareha, for the entrance of the blasphemers of God into the chambers of her sanctuary. As you can see, maybe you can see in the different editions, the poem follows the acrostic of Aleph Bet. Right? Ale Armon is with an Aleph. Ve'al Bi'at is with a Bet. The next section is Ale Galut with a Gimel. And then Ve'al Damam with a Dalit. So we can see the Aleph Bet is throughout. Another way of expressing that this, you see it now? Yeah. This mourning that we're, this crying out, this wailing, this lamenting is in totality. Like all of the letters of the alphabet, we mourn with all of our, all the ways possible. Okay, let me just point out that there's a little bit of comfort here. Maybe it's because of the last kina. We allow ourselves a little bit of comfort. What's the comfort here? When you see a woman with the most pain, she's having a baby. So even though it's a very painful experience, where there's promise that out of the pain will come rebirth. And so the refrain, of course, is this first line. Eli Tzion ve'area, kamo isha v'tzireah. We remind ourselves that hopefully this pain will be not suffering in vain, but as part of a redemption process. As horrible as it is, as painful as it is when we're crying, we remind ourselves that this is the birth pangs. It's part of a process of hopefully redemption soon. Maybe you'll share, Amos. I see you have 2 copies. Maybe you give 1 copy to, you don't know which one you want to give over. I don't know. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you the tune. Now? Okay. You got to go. Do what you got to do. So I'm going to teach you a tune. This is a little bit of a Germanic tune, I believe. It could be that it's even earlier. They say that some of the tunes that the Jews in Germany kept, they're actually preserving tunes which came from Eretz Israel, from the land of Israel. We know that the Jewish exile went through from Israel through the Mediterranean, through Italy, and then up through the Boot, all the way towards Eastern Europe, and then ultimately to Western Europe as well. And so there is many customs which were preserved from the land of Israel, specifically in the German communities. It's fascinating. Could be some of the tunes also are very ancient. This one, I'm not sure, but it could be this is an ancient tune. I know it's very widely known and used. And I'm going to teach it to you now, okay? It's to these words.
Do we have some answers why it's especially Germany where the concentration was about that?
I think the historical, God has His reasons, but historically it depends on which countries needed immigrants and which ones were more open to other societies. No, I don't think that we can find that the Jews from Israel were looking specifically for a country called Germany. No, whatever we had to bounce around between the various conditions given to us in different countries. Anyways, this is the tune. You can look in this book of Kina. We're gonna the top of page 176. We're gonna do it in Hebrew on the opposite page. So that's 175. And I'll do my best of singing it. You can catch on. This is usually the last Kina in Shacharit. It's the end. Now, if you're skipped, if the community, as I said, some communities don't recite all 40, none of them will be skipping this one. This is the finale in most synagogues.
Shacharit has 40
Yeah, it's in the prayer book. Yeah. Most communities skip, but anyways, usually even if you have to skip ahead and join the community for this one, you could always make up if you want to recite others on your own. There's no problem to recite them quietly after the community did a quick job. You can continue and sit on the floor and recite the rest of the keynote yourself. You have your English translation. You can continue to mourn and recite the Lamentations. All morning long is the original custom was that people would spend the entire morning till approximately midday, and then midday you're already allowed to sit on a chair. As we said, there's some measure of comfort in the afternoon. So this is sort of the finale. As I said, there's an element of comfort here that it's the pain that we have in our exile is compared to the birth pangs, and so there's hope that's allowed to burst into our morning and sort of give us some form of consolation, even though the consolation will really come when the fast is over. Really, when the consolation will only come in some years only after the midday of the 10th day, when you lift the full prohibitions on joyous activities like the laundry. This year, they pretty much lift immediately after the fast is over.
Are there differences in communities on who being able to sit on the chairs regularly at midday versus I've heard there's a difference in different communities, different customs.
I cannot hear you.
I'll repeat the question. It's okay. We did mention that there are different customs about when you're allowed to sit on a regular chair. on Tisha B'Av. The standard halacha is chatzot, midday. Anything after midday.
And it's like Talmudic.
It's a good question. I think it's post-Talmudic,
So the Talmud
but
does
I'm not sure.
Talmud doesn't.
I don't think that they mention specifically that only up until chatzot do we sit on a chair. Do we sit on a low chair? As I said, there's some communities where they're a little lax about it even before midday comes. Once they finish the kinot in shul, but the standard is until midday is the standard halacha. Unless you're part of a community where everybody does it differently, you can do that. In terms of after midday, I don't think you have to wait until you daven mincha, because maybe you'll daven mincha an hour later, 2 hours later. And then when midday has come, what's midday this year? Around 12:30. I'm not sure which. You have to look it up on the calendar. After that time, you can sit on a couch. You can sit on a regular chair, and you don't have to be sitting on the floor anymore. Okay, are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Eli Tzion ve'areha כמו אישה וצעיריה וכיבדו לה חגורת שק על נעוריה. That's the tune. It goes over and over again. I'll do it again from the top, just so that you get used to the words a little bit, together with the tune. Eli Tzion ve'areha כמו אישה בצעיריה וכיבדו לה חגורת שק על בעל נעוריה עלי ארמון אשר נוטש באשמת צאן עדריה ויד ביד מחרפיהם בתוך מקדש חדריה. Some people recite the first 2 lines as a refrain in between each of the Aleph Bet and then Gimel Daled. That's the way it is in my Siddur that I'm holding, that we have the first line as a refrain. So we'll do that one more time. Eli Tzion ve'areha כמו אישה בצעיריה וכיבדו לה חגורת שק על בעל נעוריה. You may attend a shul this coming Friday night where they have the custom. It's quite common. I don't like it. I don't think it's proper. They use this tune on Shabbat for Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Why do I think it's inappropriate?
Because you're using the morning to.
What are you mourning on Shabbat? Shabbat, there's no open public mourning. It's supposed to be only private. But people like to sort of mention what's going on and make the prayers relevant, and the way to mention that the time without actually changing the prayers is to add a tune that everybody knows, associates with Tisha B'Av, and they throw it into the Chadodi. It's not. I don't think it's ideal. I don't think it's the proper custom, because it's too public mourning. It's too element of public. It's a nice tune, and it fits very well with the Chadodi, but really it should. You know what some people do? I want to show you now. We'll open up our Bir Konim. In the Bir Konim that we have here for every Thursday has been our custom, right?
I bought it the same, but the bigger one at home.
You have a bigger one of this?
Yeah, because I was looking for it in the store.
You found it?
But I find
it
it because I need the bigger.
Yeah, of course. Wow, I'd like to see it. Bring it in next time.
Okay.
Please show me. That's
Bigger? Yeah, like big size. It's like this size.
Oh, you show me. Show us. That's interesting.
I like to see.
I like this, and I was looking at it.
Ah.
Oh, could be very for me.
Birkon Gadol.
In Pomerantz, I think I buy it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Comments, huh?
Or in Pomerantz, I buy it. Yeah.
Bring it. I like to see it.
It's the same, but just bigger. But the pictures are different, I think. Yeah, the pictures are a little bit different. Wow. I don't have that
Turn to page 67, please.
67.
67. So, Michelo, I've taught you this Zema once upon a time, but I taught it to you in a different tune. There's some people that take the similar tune and they use it for the last paragraph, the last two paragraphs actually. We'll do it for the last one. Okay, Yibaneh HaMikdash. You see the last paragraph on page 67? Yibaneh HaMikdash Ir Tzion Temaleh V'sham nashir shir chadash Over na 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 le. It's very similar.
Virnana, that reminds me of Tehillah 100.
Great. That's right. We use the same word there. Harachamana nikdash Yitbarach v'yitaleh Halekos yayin maleh kevirkat Hashem. And so this is very similar to Elitzion ve'areah Moisha v'tzireah. Not precisely, but Moisha v'chivtu lachadu ratzah al balehu. Anyways, so there are many songs here about Jerusalem. I'll show you one song about Jerusalem. I taught you on page 109, the song about the Mishkan being built in our hearts. Remember that? That was last week, if I'm not mistaken. This week I'll teach you a song directly about Yerushalayim. There's a few beautiful tunes. It's from the words of our Amidah, to the Ashkenazi version. Anyways, it's just a little bit of a different order in the Sephardic version. Prayer of Yerushalayim Yerecha. Page 111, please. Turn to page 111. It's in the paragraph number 4 on the page. V'li Yerushalayim. You see where it starts? The fourth song on page 111. V'li Yerushalayim Ircha berachamim berachamim tashub ותשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת ותשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת היו בני אותה בקרוב בימינו בניין עולם וכיסא דוד דוד עבדך O Meira Letoch Hatachim. That's so many tunes to Yerushalayim. It's a song about, as you can see in the English, to Jerusalem, your city. May you return in compassion. May you dwell in it as you promised. So this is what a lot of people do. What you're going to do between sunset and 8:11, where you're allowed to continue get ready for Tisha B'Av, you have to wait until the stars come out. And so in between, you're allowed to sing songs. Songs about Jerusalem are the most appropriate. Let me teach you one more tune to the same words. Are you ready? Different tune. This one's a little bit more jumpy, a little bit more happy. Same page, 111, paragraph number 4.
Oh, yes.
ולירושלים עירך ברחמים תשוב תשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת ובני אותה בקרוב בימינו בניין עולם ובני אותה קרוב בימינו בניין עולם. וכיסא דוד עבדך, מהרה לתוך התחיל. וכיסא דוד עבדך, מהרה לתוך התחיל. ולירושלים עירך ברחמים תשוב תשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת ובירושלים עירך ברחמים תשוב תשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת. You see how powerful the music is? It can have the same words, but it can be said in a sad, mournful tune, which is appropriate for the morning, and then you could sing it in a jumpy, expectant way, full of joy that Hashem, we have the promise that Hashem is going to return to Jerusalem. Very interesting. I think I mentioned there's a recent custom. The people get together towards the end of Tisha B'Av. You've been sitting on the floor and you've been mourning all day. Very little singing. The Eli Tzion is the only one that really has a tune to it. Of all the other kinot, most of them are not sung. And towards the end of the afternoon, some people actually get together and sing. And they sing at first slow songs, mournful songs about Jerusalem. I bet you, and I know at the Kotel, I mentioned at the Kotel, it's an amazing phenomenon. Every year it gets larger and larger. People gather, young people in particular, they have a hard time with being sad. And they're just waiting to be happy. And so towards the end, when the sun is setting already, and there's just a few minutes left until the fast is over, I bet you they're going to break into happy tunes about rebuilding Jerusalem, because the truth is, it's hard for us to mourn nowadays like 100 years ago, like 200 years ago, like 300 years ago.
I think it's
Because we're in the middle of
of course,
Gilgal.
everybody, yeah. But on the whole, I'm saying for when I think about the public consciousness today, the kids growing up today, they live in Jerusalem. They see Jerusalem is built. It's a beautiful city.
And we're
It's
halfway
so
through
hard.
Gula. We're halfway through Gula.
There's so many elements of the Gula, 100%. So it's hard. We recognize we don't have the temple. We haven't finished yet. But to have a full day of only mourning Jerusalem and being sad. First of all, it's hard for young people, and second of all, it doesn't fully express where we are. You can argue whether it's a quarter, half of the redemption, or 3/4, or just the beginnings of a redemption. Whatever it is, there are signs. Our life is not like it was, being persecuted and killed and pogroms and being chased and anti-Semitism. For so many years, the Jewish people had it so much worse. It was much easier to feel connected to your Judaism in a day of mourning than it is nowadays. In our days and age, we have to challenge ourselves. We have to recognize that not everything is perfect. We do have to mourn until Mashiach comes. But it makes sense that there's going to be more and more leaning towards singing the same words, praying for Jerusalem to be rebuilt, not so much in a mournful tune, but in a happy and expectant and joyful tune. This could happen at the Kotel. So get ready. Yes, if you're going to be there.
What I mean is, now we're just living in a very rich world. We have everything what we need, everything, even what we want. Especially the young people. They have a home, they have eating, they have
that's right.
They have everything.
Right.
So they don't know what
very high standard of living, yeah.
But when I'm looking back, the time where I'm coming from, we knew what it is.
Did you have poverty in your childhood?
Yeah, very much.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
Very much. And so, if you are homeless, if you don't have food, if you don't know where to go when you don't have home, and now we copy it to where's our home now? It's Yerushalayim. It's the Kotel we don't have. So we still can feel the pain, especially on this day.
Right.
And when you have a background like me, you can feel so much of the pain, and then you can suffer. Really, you can suffer the day. And we need to picture this. Looking to other countries, other people where they have pain.
Right. It's good. It's good to have a full range of human emotion. And as somebody who never had any distress, I don't think such a person exists. But to the level of others, there's some people that grow up in more of a bubble and more protected and comfortable circumstances, and it's harder for them to connect to other people's pain. It's harder to connect to Hashem's pain and the difficulty and the things that are broken. If you've never seen anything broken and never experienced, the hardest thing you had was, oh, my toy is broken. So I think they say in the name of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, I haven't found it inside, that for a child, for his toy to be broken, that's just as bad as for an adult who sees his factory going up in flames, right? It could be a tear. That's his life. That's his life. So everybody experiences pain and destruction on their own level, and obviously we have to try to understand what Jerusalem means for the Jewish people and for what the temple means in our Jewish religion. And for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we talk about the exile of the Shekhinah not being in its proper place. So, this whole process is something that we have to educate ourselves towards. But it helps when you have a more visceral experience of pain, even as an adult, that you can remember.
Look to the situation in Ukraine. How many families they don't have a home anymore? They are homeless. They don't.
Millions, for sure.
Terrible.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So painful.
Yeah, it's true. And
we need a home in every way. So when we remember, especially this day about the temple, we lost. It's pain.
Right. You're right. It's true.
This is our home.
Great. You're just in time. We're about to turn from the sad parts of the class to the happier parts of the class.
I have a question about Sukkot. Is there any sign or something that I will know that it will be repeated? This part?
No, it's hard. When you're in the middle of a song, sometimes the words repeat. You just have to look quickly at the next word. If you don't see it, so it must be a repetition.
It's never anywhere. Something like it. Is there
sometimes some birkonim have the words doubled up when it's commonly sung twice. We have that in the Hallel. In the Hallel, the custom is to recite some verses twice, so that it's there. It's mentioned, but other times when people are just trying to fit the tune to the words, they double up.
Where are they?
Okay. All right, now, because this is our last class of the semester, of the Zman, as it's known in Hebrew. So Zman means time.
Yes.
It's amazing. We're just before the end of time. So the end of time is something that we're sad about because we've been enjoying our course of study. But the end of time, of course, brings redemption. So we're waiting for the redemption to come. When Tisha B'Av is over, we're going to finish this mourning period, as short as it was, or as significant as it was. We're ready and looking for the ultimate redemption. So the way we're going to do that is to have some sweets. Before that, I want to make an introduction, but please, I'll take your question. Yeah.
When Mashiach and Geulah come,
Yeah.
will the nature and characteristic of time, this is from a Jewish perspective, change on a fundamentally metaphysical level? Will they change? Because you're saying end times, but there'll still be...
Well, we did mention that we don't say Tachanun on Tisha B'Av. Why? Because already now it's called a Moed. In the book of Eicha, it's called a Moed, is a specified time. But usually it refers to a festival. And so there's an element of festivity within Tisha B'Av itself. That's why we don't say Tachnun. Right? We mentioned the tradition that Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. Sometimes within the very when you have a fruit or vegetable and you break it open and it gets crushed and gets destroyed, the seeds fall into the ground. And so from that very destruction is the seed of the growth of the next plant, of the next fruit or vegetable that's going to grow. And so we do have this element that within the destruction itself is the seed of the redemption. And so we always are looking forward, optimistic. We have to make sure that we appreciate the depth of the mourning. And then also, if we do, the Talmud says, if someone mourns Jerusalem, they will see the rebuilding of Jerusalem. It's like a promise. It's like a gift. They say, if you mourn for Jerusalem, then you will merit to see the rebuilding of Jerusalem. And my Rosh Yeshiva, may he live and be well, maybe he be strong until 120 years. Rabbi Chaim Drukman I can remember him teaching this to us with great passion. He said, this makes no sense. When Jerusalem will be rebuilt, won't everybody see it? You'll see the building, you'll see Beit HaMikdash, you'll see the Mashiach, you'll see him in flesh and blood. What kind of, this doesn't make any sense, this Talmudic statement. And he interpreted as follows. He said, of course everybody will see the same things externally with their eyes. But only somebody who really has experienced the mourning will be able to appreciate what it means when the ultimate redemption comes. It's only if you were sad, then you'll really experience joy. If you have the lows really low, then your highs are going to be a much larger distance between the low point and the high point. If you're always just sort of hovering a little bit low, a little bit high above the surface, you don't have the same extent of joy. And so mourning with a full force, with a full experience, is what's going to give you the merit to fully experience the joy of Jerusalem. If you don't care so much about Tisha B'Av, so then when Mashiach comes, you won't care too much either. You won't realize what a big deal it is. You won't appreciate the depth of the redemption if you don't appreciate the depth of the destruction. Okay, so what am I going to teach you? When we eat food, of course, we all know we have to elevate it. Animals eat food too. How do we elevate our eating? Saying a bracha. Excellent, saying a bracha. So there's brachot. Now, different foods have different brachot. I think we mentioned it another time not long ago, that it shows it's a higher level of giving somebody a compliment. When you say, you look nice today. I say, wow, that shirt is really special. I think it's very pretty. Or that I like what you did with your hair. Or I like it's a higher level compliment. If you just say, oh, you look nice, it's nice. But if you really show that you notice something specific, the more specific you are, the deeper the level of the compliment. And so we try to be as specific as possible with the different types of foods we eat. Not only that, we have a rule. There's some foods that are considered to be more. The rabbis instituted based on, I think, human society, and some sources in our tradition that have to do with the Beit HaMikdash and foods that we use for setting meals, for mitzvahs and so forth, that there's an order of precedence of which bracha comes first, and therefore which food you eat first. So we have very different foods on the table. Okay, so what do you see here? I see some potato chips. What's the bracha on potato chips?
Potato?
Depends how they're made. Show me. Oh, that's popcorn. It's not potato chips. I'm sorry. Popcorn. So what's the bracha on popcorn? I say shahakol.
How does Faradim hold?
I don't think it's a Sephardi Ashkenazi divide. I think it's different opinions among the rabbis. Some Ashkenazi, some Sephardi. The issue is popcorn the normal way of eating corn? In most of the world, they don't. It's a really a new discovery, I believe, from the Native Americans. When people discovered the Native Americans, they saw that they popped corn and ate it like this. But it's made from corn. But the question is, does it still retain its original shape? If you can't see the original shape, you don't make the regular bracha. So there's two opinions. The correct answer is? Yeah, familiar. I went over this with Michael yesterday. It's a machloket. Either one is kosher. So whatever, this could be a bracha of ha'adama or shahakol. What's the next food we have there? We have some cake and cookies. What's the bracha on that? Mizonot. And then what else do we have? Watermelon. Where's that? What's the bracha on watermelon? Adama. It grows on the ground. No tree can hold a watermelon, as far as I know. Is there anything else? I can't see it. That's it. And the drink, of course, is she'akol. So what's the order? What bracha should we make first? And therefore, which food should we eat first? Excellent. I want to teach you an acronym. I don't know if it'll mean much to you because it's in Hebrew, but you want to learn Hebrew, don't you?
Yeah.
So I want to teach you two words. One you already know. How do you say fire? Esh. Very good.
Oh, we learned this several months ago.
The question is if you retain it, young
Let me
man.
look in my notes, Sam.
Your notes retain it, but does your brain retain it? Well, it's a method, it's a technique. So the word for fire is esh, right? And how do you say touch? Touch. Like a touch screen. Maga.
Maga Esh.
Yafeh.
Maga Esh.
These are two words. Maga means touch. Esh means fire. Right? Maga Esh. What does touching fire have to do with brachot? Well, as I told you, it's an acronym. Mem stands for mezonot. Mezonot is the first bracha. Then, if you would make a bracha, borei priya gefen, or agafen. Gimel stands for gefen. Ayin, what does that ayin stand for?
Uga.
No, uga is part of mezonot.
Adama?
Ayin. Eitz is with an ayin. Okay, so the bracha on fruit would be third. Fourth would be aleph. What's aleph?
Adama.
Good. Adama. And finally, shin is shehakol. So we have all 5 blessings, and this is the order. If possible, you go in this order. Of course, we don't have any geffen now. You're not allowed to have wine right today. I'm glad nobody brought any. It's the 9 days we don't have wine. So we do the best. So we still have to follow the order. We just skip out geffen. And do we have any etz here? I don't think we have any etz either. Right? So we have to skip number 2 and skip number 3. We only have 3 blessings. Mezonot, Adama, and Shakol. So first we should make Mezonot. Then Adama, and then Shakol. Now if there's a debate about popcorn, if the proper bracha is adama or shakol, what should we do? Make the bracha on the watermelon. There's no debate about the watermelon, right? So for sure, make the bracha on the watermelon. And then say the shakol on the drink. On the drink. There's no debate about the drink. And then once you made the bracha, this covers everything else that you're going to eat of the same type. So then you can have the popcorn, and you're covered if it's adama, and you're covered if it's shakol. Then you eat the popcorn, and whichever is the proper bracha, you already said it. Okay? Questions? Yeah.
My question is, we just discussed it at home. When you mix the wine with the water, with some amount of the water, then you can't say the bracha on the wine.
Correct.
Because it's not the wine anymore.
Correct.
But what is the, I forget.
It's called dilution. I think 1 to 6 is the standard. 1 to 6 is the standard, but it's more complicated because wines nowadays are not like they were in the times of the Talmud. They're much more diluted. In the times of the Talmud, you couldn't drink wine from the barrel. It was too concentrated.
Yeah, and then in the time of Tisha B'Av, if someone put the little tirosh in the lot of water, 1 to 60, and he say shakol,
That should be fine.
is it okay?
Yeah, should be fine. Yeah, I don't know why they would do that, but yeah, they could do that. Sure. Okay, so ready to start?
Cool.
So, hand out the mizanot. Come on, Eitan, get off your phone and hand out the mizanot. It's near you. That's why I'm saying you. Eitan, open up the cake. Yeah, cake. Mizanot, right? Anybody have a knife? Is there a knife on the table there?
Sure, we do have the knife also. I can get one.
Hey, Rabbi does. Must be a Boy Scout. Always be prepared. Perfect. Pass the cake down to Ravid. He'll cut it for us. Pass me a cookie, please. We can get started on the cookies. Pass it around, everybody. If you like, grab one. Keep going once you started already. Yeah. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai. Heinu melech haolam. Roek minem mezonot.
Oh, yes.
You're on a diet. You're on a Why?
Very good. Very good.
How often? How long do you fast for?
Just morning until lunch.
Till lunch. I see. No breakfast. Okay.
Every day. Fast
Wow.
every day.
Really? Till lunch.
I do that sometimes when there's like no little snacks and I miss your hurry. And I'm like, technically you're not supposed to have a meal until you do the tequila.
That's true. That's true.
So that's why there are times I just don't do breakfast. And also because the bed is nice. And breakfast is
Okay. Teavon.
Wait, no, watermelon next.
Okay, what's next?
Watermelon.
Pass it around. There are a few napkins around. Oh, there's plates behind you, Eitan, if you grab some plates.
Thank you. Adama or popcorn?
It's your
So we got two bags.
So take some watermelon, pass around the watermelon, pass around the plates. Everybody will have a plate and put,
Okay, but why are you saying Havana? Why are you saying Shakol? You have to know what the poskim say. What's the reason? What's their logic? Once you understand that, then you can support. You have to know how we do something before we do it. Well, not always. There was this one time the Madrid.
Thank you so much.
Like for example, the fila we don't always fully understand when we first starting out, but we do it anyways. And then
Plate, pass it down that way.
Thank
you very much. Any case, my custom is to say shakol on popcorn because of the debate. But thank you. Are there more? I didn't know there were more. That's great. Amen, amen.
But I've got more cups.
Excuse me? More
I need more cups.
cups. More cups. Okay, well, I have a cup, and Rav Listman might have some cups. You could ask him in the office. He'll give you some cups.
This one now?
Yeah, sure.
Don't tell him what we're doing.
Tell him. Invite him in. Invite him to come in.
Anybody have
By all means.
I would like to split the cake.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Peri Adama.
Hey, I'm here
Just in time. We're about to make a bracha she'akol, and we'll use your drinks for it.
בסעודה שלישית, צריך בשר או יין?
לא צריך, מותר. Right? Mutar is permitted, it's not obligatory.
Michael is sitting here.
יהודי בסעודה שלישית אין בשר, אין טעם, אין יין.
נכון.
עד 52 מהארץ.
חומוס. חבל. It's very good to have a lot of delicious food at all 3 meals of Shabbat, to honor the Shabbat. But usually the third meal, people are not so hungry, or it's really it's not the same level of obligation as the first 2. And so many people have a minimum of food at Suda Shlishit. But you're allowed to have, and it's a good thing if you can, have a big meal on the third meal too. נכון. Oh, okay. But Ariel, did you bring some cups? You got some. Amazing. Very, very resourceful. Well done. I'll just repeat the...
You didn't cut all the way through.
You have a knife there, so make it. It's very important that you eat meals on Shabbat. Eitz is ayin. We don't have any here. So yes, Pinchas is right. The idea of Shabbat is that we celebrate body and soul, neshama and guf, and we're supposed to honor and delight in the Shabbat. Oneg Shabbat. Oneg is delight. Delight is what things give your body pleasure. So food and drink, right? We know that it's traditional to have relations on Shabbat because it's enjoyable and you're supposed to enjoy on Shabbat. So yes, the meals should be more than usual during the weekdays. And the fact that we have a third meal at all, before you came today, Pinchas, I was explaining that in the ancient times they only had 2 meals a day. So the very fact that we have a third meal is itself showing that we're doing it for the sake of Shabbat. It's a celebration of Shabbat. But it is true that many times people are not hungry at the third meal, and so you don't make special food. But my wife, may she live and be well, she... because my son, may he live and be well, he was harping on your point. He said, the third meal is a Shabbat meal. We should have proper food. And, so my wife took that on and she tries to make a hot dish for the third meal as well. A fish or a quiche or something. Not just bread and hummus and spreads, which is that's what I eat because I'm really so full. By the third meal, I barely can force myself to have a piece of bread. I try to because it's a mitzvah. She does.
So we need to come to your place.
You do?
Yes,
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I want to have you all. Yeah.
So in regards to preparation for the Shabbatot in the 9 days, is it mutar to trim your nails for Shabbat?
Yes. If you commonly trim your nails every Erev Shabbat, the custom is you're allowed in the 9 days also to trim your nails on Erev Shabbat.
But on Erev Shabbat, for Shabbat, one cannot make the beard.
Correct. There's a difference between hair cutting and nail clipping. Correct. Get ready with the shahakol, guys. Everybody pour yourself a drink or pour each other drinks. The drink, there's Sprite here, and what's that over there? I have my drink. We're ready for the next bracha, the bracha of shahakol. Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, everybody have a cup of water or juice or Sprite or something? ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. I believe I just made a bracha levatala though.
What?
Because I just said a shahakol earlier. I drank earlier in the class.
For educational purposes.
I hope Hashem forgives me. It was not totally in vain, but I don't think I had the obligation to make the shahakol now. Hashem should forgive me. Amen. Amen. Can I have some popcorn, please? Thank you so much. Pass it around. Everybody enjoy. I think we've covered all the blessings, right? So everybody enjoy. Have as much as you like. L'chaim. Maga esh, touch fire. You know that there's you've probably heard of this. There's martial arts called karate. Something called jujitsu.
Yeah, the Jewish one is
Judo. There's an Israeli invention. What's it called?
Krav Maga.
Krav Maga. Maga. Touch. Krav is a battle. Fight. Touching battle.
Technique in some ways.
Never heard about it.
Really?
I did karate for about 15 years.
Really?
Wow.
So I know quite something.
We had a student here
Got everything into
from Kenya, and he was an expert in karate, black belt, many levels, and he wanted to go to the next level as a karate master, and he heard that there's something called Krav Maga. And he said, where is that from? He's from Israel. He says, I'd like to go to Israel. He came to Israel to study Krav Maga.
Yeah.
And he met Jews for the first time. And he was very interested. And they were nice to him. And he got interested more and more. To make a long story short, he converted to Judaism.
Wow. Oh, really?
And he moved to Israel. And now he's married to an Ethiopian woman, and they have 2 children. And they live in a settlement in the south, not far from Susia, Beit Yatir. Yeah, lovely student of ours. And it all started from his interest in Krav Maga. Well, he was interested in Judaism as well. He was a pastor beforehand. He was a leader of a church in Kenya. Amazing.
It's not from Belgium people.
No.
Because in Susa there are people from Belgium, and both of them they are very good in Kung Fu, I think.
Oh, Kung Fu. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
They are very old.
Oh, really? Wow. Amazing. What's the difference? I'm not an expert. Kung Fu, I think, is. Who here knows karate? Or Ravi, you know you're a karate.
Yes.
Yeah. And anybody else
Wait,
study?
up until my freshman year of high school, I did taekwondo from like elementary, middle school, like sixth grade, I think, to.
I didn't know. Taekwondo, that's good.
You know karate? You know what's karate?
Israel, do you know? Do you know? Kung Fu? Pinchas, Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee. Yeah. Amos, pass me the popcorn.
Just
Movie.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee's real.
Bruce Lee number one.
And Jackie.
Jelly.
And Mr. Sensei. This is Splinter.
It's a beautiful sport.
Yeah, karate, yeah.
Amazing.
Do you still practice now?
No.
You know
I
karate?
also fight competitions and
Really?
yeah.
I picture you as a dancer, not a fighter.
Before that, I was very busy with karate. I had my black belt,
Mm-hmm.
so I did it for many years.
Wow.
And I had for about 4 years, my teacher was a world champion.
Really?
In the late
Wow.
80s, beginning 90s.
Really?
Yes.
This is in Holland.
Yes.
Wow.
Otti Ruto, very Olympic champion.
Huh. Wow.
You also Krav Maga in Holland. I was there for.
Really? Krav Maga in Holland. Wow. Nice.
Did you want to lose?
It's very
What?
Were you watching or?
Yeah, it's very
I
popular.
was doing it for a few months and then I go to the gym.
What is beautiful about karate? You mentioned that the karate is a beautiful sport. How would you then describe that? It's not only about fighting. It's much more about discipline, trust in yourself, and you don't need to fight. Yeah, it's more.
If someone to kill you, you will.
You need to know what you need to do when you need it.
Oh, yeah.
But don't attack other people. It's not okay. But you need to know, and then it gives you so much strength inside, and you believe in yourself, and it's discipline very much. I remember one time we had our teacher. He was very serious and very hard, and 3 boys came to want to have lesson and playing and like to have the real street fighting. And when he recognized it, okay, boys. Now, and because he said many times they need to behave in a good way and they didn't like to leave. Then he said, okay, now we have a little hapsaka. These 3 boys are going to fight against me. You can do whatever you want. And all the room, then he said, now you can go, don't come back anymore. It's discipline, you need to work. If you don't do what you need to do, it's not okay. It's beautiful. I love it. Interesting. Good. Yankee style.
Yeah, very. Thank you to everybody who brought in the food. It's very nice of you. And,
Thank you so much.
yes, thank you to everybody for participating in our shiurim. It's been an amazing period.
Yes.
We really just started doing this course called Fundamentals of Judaism about, I guess, this year, beginning of this year. So this is the first year that I've given this course. Every day, 5 days in a row, Fundamentals of Judaism. So I was teaching a different class at this time, and so I couldn't do both at the same time. I haven't learned that trick yet. Just divide myself in 2. So what we did is we moved that class to 11 o'clock. That's the advanced Talmud group. I was teaching that at this time. But we managed, so now I teach both, but staggered times.
And what is the plan for next semester?
Continue. Obviously there's going to be some new recruits. I think we have 5 new guys coming, and some of you will be continuing, hopefully. And we have a plan, a curriculum. As you're familiar with all of my special handouts of charts and trying to understand, get a handle on Jewish history. as well as the prayers. We haven't even finished. We only got up to the Amidah. We still have to continue with studying the rest of the prayers, the end of the Shacharit service, the Tachanun, the Mincha service, the Mariv service, going through the daily service. But also, you know why it's so slow? Because we stop and make sure that we're ready for every festival. Yeah. And so whenever there's a festival coming, we focus on the festival, the traditions and the meaning of the traditions and the practical, changes to the tefillah and the practical laws which we have to do. The truth is, coming up, in the beginning of next semester, we have a new book. Never before been used. The Days of Awe, it's called. And the Pnei Halacha series has newly translated the 8th volume of the series, where it talks about, the preparation for the high holidays, and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And before that, it starts off with the month of Elul, which is when we start classes again, the day after Rosh Chodesh Elul, and so, or on Rosh Chodesh Elul, I believe, actually the first of Elul. So we're going to be spending time studying about the Slichot, about the meaning of the month of Elul and Tshuva, and how to do Tshuva, and of course making sure you're ready with the laws of the Shofar for Rosh Hashanah. And we're going to talk about fasting again when we come to Yom Kippur, not too long from now, about 2 months from now, we're going to have one more fast. So consider this practice for Yom Kippur, the biblical fast. And then, of course, after Yom Kippur, right away there's Sukkot. And Sukkot, we have so many mitzvot, the Sukkah, and the Lulav, and the Etrog, and the Hoshanot, and the Simchat Beit HaShoeva, and Simchat Torah, and Shmini Atzeret. There's so many holidays coming up very soon after the beginning of the year. So most of the month of Elul will be focused on the holiday and the laws and the practice and traditions around the holidays. And so we really are going to pick up, continuing with the Siddur and Jewish history, only after October, after the first 6-week semester. We have 6 weeks until Sukkot, until Yom Kippur, and then we have 3 weeks off. Over Sukkot we have a little bit of a break again, and then when we come back at the beginning of Cheshvan, I think that's the beginning of October, then we'll have a short period without any holidays, and we'll be able to move back to the Siddur and, of course, other practical laws. We're going to talk about the laws of Brachot, as we just did now today. This was just a primer, the beginning of the study.
It's from the Talmud, right?
Absolutely, yes. Rafi, go ahead.
Please allow me to mention one person, because now it's the last day of the semester, and now we will have 3 weeks to do nice things, but even then we are going to study, I think.
I hope. Continue studying on your own, yeah.
It's you, Rabbi.
Oh my gosh.
When I'm looking back at the beginning of the semester, and I remember where we come from, talking about knowledge and everything, we learned so much from you, and the way you did it, it was beautiful. I think I'm talking for every one of the Talmidim. Thank you so much for your patience. And the way you teach us all the knowledge you have, it's an honor to be one of your students. So thank you very much for what you did for us.
You're welcome. Wow, beautiful. Thank you very much. Good. Anybody else want to say something? Not about me, but enough about me, but about your experience here. And Hirsch and Nathan, yeah.
Did you cover in the shiur specific for Shacharit? It's like all the same, but then there's keynote stuck in somewhere, and then there's a Torah reading, or? Yeah,
we mentioned it a number of times. I'll say it again. On Tisha B'Av, the Shacharit service is pretty much standard. In the Amidah, there's 2 additions, so we just erased them. And then there's a Torah reading special for Tisha B'Av. And then we sit on the floor and recite Kinot.
So except Tahnun, we do Kinot.
That's right. There's nothing.
And then after Kinot, we say like most of the 40 Kinots? We're going to say all 40 of them here?
Depends on the community. I don't know.
And then we do Aleinu.
Then there's that's right.
Is there a Torah
the
reading
ending.
for Shacharit?
There is a Torah reading for Shacharit.
So we treat it like the order is either like Yom Tov or Shabbat, right? For Shahri.
Yeah, you could say that. There's no Musaf.
Is it before or after the keynote, the Torah reading?
Before. After the Amidah, there's Torah reading right away.
And then for Mitha, there's going to be Torah reading, then Amidah, then keynote. Or
Correct. No keynote. There's no keynote at Mincha reading. There's Avinu Malkeinu, I believe.
Of course.
I believe there's Avinu Malkeinu at the Mincha of Tisha B'Av. Pretty sure. Okay, Eitan, b'kasha.
Thank you for everything. And look, I was here 40 days, and it's not the last day.
40 days. Wow.
It's no problem, and I learn a lot, especially from you. Give me a boost to learn more. Also, after I had that, I don't have that before I came here. I was looking for my idea, and I look how it's going, but now it gives me a boost to learn more and to.
Amazing. Great. I'm so happy to be part of your journey. Coming in Elul, you're not going to be joining us. Is that 40 days was the plan? Okay, and you're doing Giur with your family, right? With you have classes twice a week or something, so you'll go back to those. But by now you'll be an expert. You'll be teaching them, right? Some things. Good, but you're absolutely right. That really this is the beginning, and the most important thing I can do is to give you. They say in Hebrew, "Tam shel od," which means an appetite for more. Absolutely, this is the beginnings. You get a handle of the basics, and you realize, wow, I can understand some of this, and I can do some of this, and I can actually grow in my Torah learning and my Torah practice, and that's the goal. That's the goal. To sometimes there's not enough attention given to people in the beginning. To give them an opportunity to ask the silliest questions, the stupidest questions. No, nobody here asked any silly questions or any stupid questions. Every question is good, because that's what you need to do when you're a beginner. And so I very much enjoy when you all participate and you do have questions in the right time and in the right order. Not everybody speaking at once, but and if possible on topic. But even if it's not on topic, it's fine, because our topic is Judaism, the fundamentals of Judaism. And so even if we're in the middle of talking about the tefillah and you have a question about the laws of Shabbat, because yesterday was Shabbat and you saw somebody doing something or practicing differently, I'm happy to discuss it. I don't think it's off topic. You can never really go off topic if it's about Judaism. And it really, I think, is the best way to learn, is to come with your questions, and you're motivated to get the answers. And I don't know all the answers, but I try to share with you whatever knowledge I do, and I continue to learn, and hopefully you'll continue to learn as well. Yafeh. Okay, after we eat, we have brachot as well. 3 types of brachot. One bracha you all know, although it's the most advanced one. You all know it from Shabbat and from meals when you have bread, Birkat HaMazon. It is a big, long blessing with 4 different parts, 5 different parts. We talked about it a little bit. But then, that's not the only blessing after the meal. If you don't have bread, and you don't recite the Birkat HaMazon, there's 2 other forms of benching, it's called. Benching is blessing, right? In Yiddish. Two forms of the bracha achrona, the blessing after eating. One is called me'ein shalosh. It's like the 3-part blessing, which is like the Birkat HaMazon. It's sort of a shortened version of Birkat HaMazon that we recite if you've had mezonot or gefen or etz of the 7 species. So some etz. Mezonot, gefen, and some etz. That's when we recite the. And if you don't have any of those, you just have Adamar Shakol. We have a 3rd option, a very short blessing called Borei Nefashot. Okay, so I don't think. So you recite both. To recite both, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So who...
Where is the motzi in this? Is it? I know for Shabbat it's after a
Oh,
guest.
sorry, this is a little bit of a mistake. It's mizonot. There's a mem here, right? Because the mem, it also includes ha-motzi.
So the only
Either bread or cakes.
So
Is
the
number
only
one.
exception to this is on Shabbat for Ardot.
That's right, because we need to say kiddush first, so we bring the hagefen first, and that's a problem. That's why we cover the bread.
Wait, is there
It's not there.
Is there
We can say the geffen first if there's no bread, so that's why we cover the chalot.
Is there midrash that's why the wine and the kaddish before the lechem? Is there
Absolutely, yeah. The sages instituted that we have to say kiddush on a cup of wine
before? What's like the reasoning behind it?
Wine is used in many rituals, probably connected to the temple. It was a special used as a korban, as a ritual for service of Hashem. But also in every civilization, wine is a very special food. It's given prominence, and there's more to talk about significance of wine. But yeah, kiddush it was instituted. The sages that you should, if possible, make kiddush on wine. And since you can't eat until you have kiddush, we have to sort of hide the bread. Because otherwise, number one should be the bread.
But the mezonot, no.
Mizonot, also, we don't hide it. Yeah, but I do.
You did?
I do, yeah. If there is mizonot on the table, so I cover that too. If I'm going to have wine and make kiddush on wine.
Wow.
Many times I make kiddush on whiskey. On Shabbat morning I'm talking about. And so you don't have to cover anything. But if you do have wine or grape juice, you should cover the mezonot too. Not everybody is machmer on that, but...
Is it because of mezonot also is shit?
because it's number one. Mezonot is number one. It should come before the geffen.
But to cover is like, to mean like to, because they say like it's disrespectful for the...
Why is it disrespectful? Because it deserves to be number one, and you're making it number two. So that's disrespectful.
So it's like a...
So we cover it, it's over. So it's as if it's not on the table. It's not there.
Saying it.
Yeah, you know.
And it's because the lechem is the main.
Right. Why this one is first and this is second and third is a longer discussion. To be continued, Bezrat Hashem, next semester. Okay, Ariel, did you have one piece of cake? One cookie? 2 pieces of cake? 2 cookies?
I had none of the cookies, but I'll have this for the next year.
You had 1 piece of cake?
Yeah, I did.
2 pieces of cake?
But then we can.
3. How about
Perfect. So I want you to say the bracha for us. So I only had 1 cookie. I'm not sure it's enough. You have to have an olive size of mezonot in order to be obligated
to say
to recite the bracha achrona, the after bracha. Of course, this is the Ashkenazi version. I hope you forgive me. I don't have the Sephardi version. Your Sephardi version is in my car, by the way.
Yeah. Oh wow.
You better get that from me.
Page 826.
Oh, there you go. Okay, go for it. 826. Perfect. Either version is kosher. They're very similar. Okay, Ariel, you'll recite that for us?
Can you be sitting down?
Yeah, you sitting down is best.
Well. Alright.
Are we in?
Yes, we can all be Yotze with Ariel. You just have to listen and answer Amen. And then you fulfilled your obligation. You're going to say both of them for us. The Ala Mechia, and then afterwards the Borei Nefashot, because we had these types of foods and these types of foods. Go ahead, Ariel. If you need help, I'll help you. Don't worry. Start Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Al HaMechia V'Al HaKalkala. Do you see that? Is it 826 or not?
Yeah, that's
Bracha Mein Shalosh, exactly. That's what it's called.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Al HaMechia Ve'al HaKalkala
Ve'al Tenuvat HaSadeh.
Do you want to use my English one? Another one where it's
Ve'al Haaretz Chemda Tova Urchava She'atzita והנחלת לאבותינו לאכול מפריה ולשבוע מתורה. לכם לתוכה שמחנו בבניינה ונברכך עליה בקדושה וטהרה. כי אתה טוב ומיטיב לכל הכל ונודה לך על הארץ.
ועל המחיה.
ועל
מחייתה, אוקיי.
מחייתה ועל כלכלתה.
ברוך
אתה אדוני על הארץ ועל
המחיה ומחייתה.
מחייתה.
Amen.
Amen.
Well done. Next line. Baruch atah.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא נפשות רבות וחסרונן על כל מה שברת להחיות להם נפש כל חי. ברוך העולמים.
Amen. Amen. This is a challenge. At the beginning of next semester, I want you all to be reciting this off by heart.
Your font is really good.
The bracha v'al mechia and borei nefashot. Try to learn it off by heart. Hopefully you'll have lots of snacks over the break. Lots of borei nefashot. It's easy to remember. It's 2 lines. And Bezrat Hashem, we'll see you in 3 weeks. Bezrat Hashem.